Hello, and welcome back to Gunfighter Life, the podcast where we talk about gunfighting the right way, with Judeo-Christian values and real-world, first-hand experience.
Do you want my laptop?
I don't know when you're going to listen to this, but when I'm recording this, we're still living the bugged-out life. A little minor exodus God provides. We had to evacuate where we live. Evacuation orders given because of the wildfires that are in our area. But God provides. We got out of there safe, and everything is good. So, as always, I'm your host, Michael Melito. I'll give a quick bio, not the pre-recorded one I normally put in, so I may leave some stuff out. But first and foremost, I'm a Christian. Number one thing about me, first and foremost in everything that I do, this podcast is no different. Marine Corps combat veteran, urban warfare instructor for the Marine Corps, also served in the Army, FBI certified firearms instructor. Was also a private contractor, state rifle pistol champion a few times over, professional big game hunter and guide. With that, let's roll into this episode. Going to try something a little bit different. Instead of putting these out in the morning, like the statistics say is better, and having a podcast, which somewhere between a half an hour to an hour, like most others. I think we're going to do a short episode, and we're going to put this out so it comes out late on Saturday night, especially for those of you who live east of the Mississippi River, which is most people in the U.S., I think. Kind of reminds me of when I was a police officer, and I would work the grave shift. And the only thing on late at night was, I think, Art Bell, way back in the day, if anybody remembers that. But anyway, let's get to the topic at hand. Saturday night special, since this is coming out Saturday night. There's kind of this negative connotation back in the day, and long before the politicians were trying to ban assault rifles and things like that, they were all up in arms about what they deemed Saturday night specials, which is kind of a ridiculous term. I don't know where that comes from, Saturday night special. But anyway, it was given to like lower cost handguns, Saturday night specials. These Saturday night specials included things like the Jennings, Jimenez, and Ravens, to name a few. It was basically, how cheap can we make a gun? And the politicians were all up in arms about banning these. There was even, I think we still have today, import restrictions and bans on firearms with certain number of features and this thing and that thing. And that all, I believe, stemmed from this whole fear of the Saturday night special. But we have cheap handguns today. And we kind of live in the golden age of handguns, I think, because even today, the cheapest handguns are still, I think, great and far above and beyond. I got nothing against those old Ravens and Jimenez's if you want one, or you want one to play with, or want one to go to the range with, and things like that. But the cheap handguns we have today are far and away better than those old Ravens and Jimenez and those kind of Jennings guns. Let's consider the modern Saturday night special, the High Point. Now, the High Points get a lot of crap from a lot of people, but they won't get crap from me, because they're an American-made, affordable handgun that works. They are very reliable, and they have actually a decent trigger and decent sights for what they are. I would say their reliability is far above, their sights are far better, and their trigger is far better than the Saturday night specials in days of yore. Yeah, they do handle like two bricks hot glued together, but they are reliable. And, I grew up poor, and I get that. And for some people, that's all they can afford. Or for some people, they need an extra gun. They need a gun to give away to somebody. They need a gun for somebody they know, or a gun to keep on a boat, or a gun to keep in their car, or something like that. And for those things, the High Points are fine. And again, there's nothing wrong with the High Point from a reliability standpoint. They're a straight, simple blowback operating system, which is one of the most reliable systems. they're just not really what I would consider a concealed carry gun, because since they are a blowback operated design. Let's take the 9mm for example. The slide and everything is so big on those guns, they would be very impractical to conceal carry. Again, if you had to and that was all you could afford and you had to carry it under a big coat or something, you probably could. But I'm just saying that for the cheap handguns of now, that is about as cheap as you get, and they are still ridiculously reliable and rugged, and I believe made in America. And they have a decent trigger, and they have decent sights. Stepping up a bit from there, one of my favorite low-cost handguns are the Sky SCCY. I've owned many of these over the years. I've tested them. They are probably one of the most reliable handguns I've ever shot. Again, that's SCCY. They're made in Florida. They come in all different colors and configurations. The 1 and the 2, I forget which one is which, but one has a safety and one doesn't. But they are a great, great design. They are very simple. They are very reliable. And unlike the High Point, they are a decent size. Their standard magazine is 10 rounds, and they are a decent size and a decent shape and a decent weight for concealed carry. I think the base model has that long double action trigger, which is not a great target trigger by any means, but it is a fine defensive trigger. DAO, a lot of agencies mandated that for a long time, double action only. And again, is not going to win any split time competitions in 3-gun. But that long double action only is a fine defensive trigger. And those Sky handguns, in my opinion, are some of the most reliable handguns you can get. They cost probably double what a High Point costs, but you're talking, I don't know what today's costs are, but you're probably talking around $299 and something. I'd have to check that out, but it would be somewhere in that ballpark. And they are a carryable size handgun. They have 10 rounds of 9mm. That's quite a bit of firepower for a gun in that price point. They are reliable. They are, I would consider, a fairly attractive looking handgun. They're made of good quality solid parts. They have a simple, rugged design. And they are far and away, in my opinion, better than any of the Saturday Night Specials that were around decades ago. They are a great, great handgun. And there is nothing wrong with one of those. I still wouldn't turn my nose up at concealed carrying one of those. Is it as nice as my M17 or my SIG P226? No, it's not. But it also costs less than half of, even maybe a third of what those guns cost. If you count the optic, even far less than that. They're a good, solid gun. And I'd rather have somebody that had one of those and spent their money on ammo and training, that trained with it, than somebody that had a brand new, whatever the flavor of the month is, Gucci Glock, next hot new polymer striker fired handgun that buys it and doesn't train with it because he took all his money to save up and buy it. I'd much rather have somebody that had the Sky, that carried it and trained with it and bought ammo for it. But those are great low-cost handguns. Another really great option, this would be my least favorite on the list, but the Tauruses. Tauruses, in my experience, past and present, do have some issues. They can have some malfunction. I think a lot of that nowadays is user-induced. I think a lot of people think everything's going to be a Glock. But they can be a little bit less reliable, the Tauruses. But I still think they're far more reliable than those old Jennings and Jimenez and Ravens of yesteryear. And they have good ergonomics. They have good triggers. And one thing I'll say about Taurus, they're not afraid to step outside of the box. When everybody else is just making, the next Glock clone that's basically just like a Glock with a different name stamped on the slide, Tauruses do make a couple of different things, and they do bring a couple of things to the table that are different. And I gotta respect them for that. They've made a number of cheaper, what I would consider full-size handguns and concealed carry handguns over the years. And I'm not super familiar with all their models, but I do know that they've been able to come in at an affordable price point. And I think, in my opinion, they are less reliable than the High Point and the Skies, but they offer a lot more features. And yeah, they may malfunction from time to time, but I'd rather you get the gun and train with it. If it malfunctions 1 out of 100 rounds, it's 99% reliable. I'd rather have the guy with that gun that trains with it and knows how to clear malfunctions quickly. And far more importantly, knows how to get good, fast, accurate first, second, third round hits on target than the guy that has the Gucci Glock that may be 99.5% reliable. It jams every 200 rounds, but he never trains with it, and he doesn't take it out to the range because he doesn't have money for ammo because he spent it all on his Gucci gun with his Gucci sights and everything else. And I got nothing against high-end guns. I carry high-end guns, but not everybody can. And again, I get that. And again, Taurus does bring a lot to the table, and you get a lot of features for what you spend the money on. For the amount of money that you spend, you get a lot of features. You get a lot of features that people spend a lot of money after they buy a base model Glock to get better sights and a better trigger and things like that. Stippling with that, a lot of the Taurus models come with right out of the box. I'm not going to say that they are as reliable as a Glock. I'm not going to say that because I don't think that's true. Some of them may be. I think one of the big shortfalls of Taurus over the years has been their quality control. But again, I think they're far more reliable than the quote-unquote Saturday Night Specials of years ago. With that, I think we've covered everything for tonight's episode. I hope you like this shorter, different format. If you do, I know we're doing this kind of rapid-fire episode because I'm in a little mini exodus right now and rather enjoying it, to be honest, being evacuated from where I live and getting some time off work and hiking around the beautiful woods and desert of God's creation. But if this catches on, maybe we'll do a couple of short episodes a week. So if you do like it, make sure you like, subscribe, leave a review of the podcast, hit a couple of stars. Write a comment, whatever you think, agree or disagree. I just want to say before we close out here, remember God, He provides, He always does. If you want more, don't forget to check out goodshepherdtraining.com. Again, that's goodshepherdtraining.com. Thanks, and have a blessed day.